Welcome to Off the Chain, where we have conversations with people pioneering the consumer blockchain space. We cover their journey so far and many different items to hopefully give you what you need to either pursue your career, make the transition over, or anything else that might help you along the way. Today, we feature Zeneca in our debut episode. We're so lucky to have such a big player so early on in the piece without any other episodes being published yet. We cover many different topics with Zeneca, pieces around his prior experience as a professional poker player, how he made the transition across to Web3, what his plans are within the space, and lots of different bits that hopefully will give you what you're looking for, whether it's to use that inspiration to keep going or find your way into the space and just make you feel really comfortable that no matter where you're starting from or what your talents are, there may be a spot for you in this industry. Enjoy the show and let us know what you think. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode, or in this case, it's actually our first ever episode of Off the Chain, where we talk to pioneers in the space. And to start off with, I thought, what a better way than one of the absolute pioneers and, great people flying the flag for us, for Australians, Zeneca. Welcome.
Thank you. Really happy to be here.
Mate, we're so pleased to have you, and you've been a great supporter of NFT Melbourne earlier in the year with the Zen Academy, sort of getting behind it, and we did a little bit of a collab with giving some of the crew some tickets to the event. So we appreciate. I can speak for all Australians. You appreciate all of the support that you've given us. So mate, we're really glad to have you on. Look. I love to start these things off, and no matter what sort of content I create, to give people a bit of context around who you are. This really is, as I was explaining to you before we started recording, it really is an effort to help people through inspiration or education, etc., around how you can get into the space, learnings that you can take, the different walks of life and starting points that people have had to get here, and yours is really interesting. So I'd love for you to just give you sort of origin story, if you could, for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, for sure. So I got into crypto and NFTs properly in like early 2021. Prior to that, I was a professional poker player, which I basically did. That was like my whole life prior to this. I did like from 2005 to early 2021. It was all professional poker. I kind of dabbled in crypto in 2017, but then that like bear market hit in 2018. I was like, all right, that's it, I'm out. So like I'm born and raised in Oz, and I'm actually living over in Germany at the moment. I've been living here for about 3.5 years, but most of my life lived in Brisbane, Sydney for a bit. And I got into NFTs because I had like friends that were into crypto and NFTs, and they were telling me about it. And they told me about it in 2017. And I was like, oh, sounds interesting, and dabbled. And then bear market, and I was like, I'm out. And then 2021 came around, and I was like, all right, this time around, I'm not gonna dismiss it because it seems like there's really something here. And at that point, there was DeFi that had been built and NFTs, and there's just so much more going on. And I was like, all right, let me just sink my teeth into this. And so I started trading, flipping NFTs. Obviously, lost a bunch of money at first, like most people do when they're first starting out. But the bull run came last year, and things started to go well, and that was all good and well. But I didn't love it. It wasn't like fulfilling or rewarding, and not something I really wanted to be doing forever. Somewhere around the same time, I started creating content. So I started a newsletter, started writing Twitter threads, I started a podcast. And
what got you to start that? What sort of made you think, well, hang on, I should start creating content?
I've always liked writing. I've always wanted to have I used to have a poker blog. It was never very successful, and I've always wanted to I was like, maybe I should start a travel blog or a food blog, but there's 8 billion of those. I don't need another one of those. I also learn better if I have to write something and explain to someone else. And I was so obsessed with this space. I still am. And I was thinking about it all the time. And I was like, it'll probably help me to formulate my thoughts if I have to sort of explain to someone else about a specific project. That's what my first 10, 15 posts were about, project specific. If I write, I'll learn and maybe help others. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. I had no intention to sort of turn it into my career or become a content creator, launch Zen Academy, any of that. It was just kind of hey, let's just try. I like writing, and let's see where it goes. And it's
I
kind of
love
crazy
that.
where it's come.
And how I'd love to dig in a little bit because like the professional poker piece is really interesting. I heard you speak on the Twitter space that NFT Fest had
Mm,
running leading up to. I'm speaking there as well, and obviously you are too. And I heard you talk about, and I really want to get into the part around, transitioning from let's say a nomad or a one man band, I
mm.
guess, and no one to lead from a team perspective, and then going into hang on, I've got all these people that I'm accountable for, and sort of going through that process. But before we get there, what got you into the poker piece? Have you had other businesses, like sort of solo businesses, other than that, or was it just you felt that you had a talent for it and you sort of pursued it?
Yeah. So I got into poker it was like, so I finished high school in 2005, and I first heard about poker in, I think, 2004. It was just, I was in high school playing video games with friends. We had like a Halo night. So we had, went to someone's house. There was like 4 or 8 of us, I can't remember, playing video games. And then like we took a break, eat some pizza, watch some TV, and poker was on. And I didn't know anything about it at that point, but I always loved games. And one of our friends like told us the rules, and it just kind of like struck me, and I was like, "Huh, that's really interesting." And then I have a tendency to like really go down rabbit hole and go deep. So I like went online, started Googling, went to forums, ordered some books, and realized, you could play online and you can make money at this thing. And I was like, hey, this is really fun. I enjoy it, and you can make money at it. Let me just keep doing that. And so like
So similarities.
it's very similar, very similar. And so yeah, I just went down just that path for a very long time. And yeah, that's how I got into it. And I think
Do
there
you
are a lot of
feel that
similarities with
that
poker. Yeah.
Yeah, do you feel that like maybe subconsciously that once you sort of got that similar feeling and that similar sort of buzz from I guess Web3, if we call it generally,
Yeah.
you made subconsciously, you mentioned sort of going down rabbit holes. Clearly you've done that to great success twice now. Does that feel like maybe that's what
Yeah.
you maybe subconsciously played to your strengths?
Very familiar feelings. Yeah. I just, you have those pivotal moments in life where you make these decisions. And I very consciously remember making a decision early last year where I was like, all right, I'm going to, there's something really significant happening here. I want to dedicate all my time to figuring it out. And here we are.
Absolutely. So do you have any sort of like I'll give you like some context with me. I've got a music background. I'm obsessed with sports. I used to play a lot of sport and I've had businesses for 22 years. So as you could imagine, once the penny dropped for me with NFTs,
Mm,
I'm like, what why am I doing anything else?
yeah.
I have responsibilities. I've got a Web2 agency of 20 staff and a few other things and a family, etc. So I couldn't
Mm,
just be like, all right, I'm done.
yeah.
I'm out. Let's move across. I got to watch a lot of talented people like you sail right by me and do really, really well. But, everyone's got their own path for sure. Did you have any, I guess, similar interests that sort of brought that across aside from, what we've already spoken about?
Not really, no. It was largely poker, and like in terms of a professional sense, as a poker player, I did like a little bit of coaching and training. I was sponsored by a website and did like a little bit of work for them. And like I mentioned, I had a poker blog, so like very lightly on the content side, but never a business, never working with or for or had other people working for me. And it was
Just more intuition.
more intuition, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So when, like, obviously, there was a point in time where you decided, all right, I need to, like, aside from the content piece, I want to get in this game. What, where do you get that confidence from? Was it sort of like did you set it up in a way where it was sort of low risk and you were going for it, or you just had that feeling, from knowing what success feels like, that it was sort of something that you felt like it was going to go quite well?
Do you mean like crypto and NFTs or more like
Yeah, when
Zen
you wanted to
Academy?
start,
Yeah.
yeah, it was an academy, and when you wanted to actually get in the business of NFTs and Web3.
Yeah. So I mean, getting the transition from poker into NFTs and Web3 was pretty seamless. It happened over the course of like 2 or 3 months, and it wasn't like I decided, all right, I want to spend a lot more time or all my time figuring this space out, but I was still like, well, I'm not expecting to make money at it to begin with, and I need to play a little bit of poker as just have
Get your
some
bills paid.
income.
Yep.
And so over like 2 or 3 months, I think from February to maybe April last year, February to, yeah, probably April is when I last played poker. It was, I just slowly wound down, or maybe quickly wound down the amount of poker I was playing from, 30 hours a week to 20 to 10 to 5 to, all right, now I don't have to play. And then after that, it was being in the space and just so much time doing everything in the space. And then after like 6 months in the space is when I launched Zen Academy and just decided if I want to do this full time and just want to commit to this, I should probably do something that's not just trading of NFTs because it's high risk and not fulfilling, and that's where I really wanted to build something.
For sure, for sure. So, but at that point, from a build perspective, did you think about? Did you sort of just go all in and say, well, I'm gonna, worst case it's just me, and I'm gonna give this a go and see what happens, or you sort of thought, all right, I got a good shot at this, so I'm gonna sort of put a bit of a plan together and think about the strategy, etc.
It was like somewhere in between. Like, it was very much. I started out. It was just me. I didn't, hire a bunch of people and then promise the world to people. It was very experimental. Everything I was doing, I sort of really went with the under promise over deliver kind of ethos where I was basically I sold these NFTs as like a membership to Zen Academy and was kind of telling people, I don't know exactly what this is going to be or how I'm going to be able to do this, but if you've enjoyed my content over the last 6 months and think that I might have the ability to build something meaningful here, then maybe this is something worth being a part of. And like the mint price was intentionally very low, it was 0.033 ETH. Back about a year ago when a lot of projects were minting out between point 0.1, point 0.2, and then up to like 1 ETH, 2 ETH, 3 ETH for the Dutch auctions. So I never felt a ton of pressure for the Genesis membership. So yeah, I was able to sort of just kind of go with the flow and see where it led. And now there's about 20 of us working on Zen Academy. So it's been a big year.
That's cool. No, I really love that strategy. It's what drew me to Maddie DCL as well with MetaKey.
Mm,
I still remember the tweet, and I'm kicking myself for not getting that Genesis when it was whatever it was at Mint. I actually looked at it on the first release and the second, the Artifact release, which obviously then got you Clone X's. I'm kicking myself, but the strategy and the rollout, as you know, there was so much else going on at that time. But I was like, man, this guy's doing it in such a different way, very similar to yourself, where he literally was like, I don't know if this is going to go up. We're building it as a collectible, very small supply. We're literally essentially doing this as an experiment, and we have this very, very long-term plan. Buy it if you want.
Yeah.
Essentially, it was the exact opposite of everything else. And maybe for me, being, I love a gamble as well. Maybe it was sort of like, well, I was very short-term minded during that phase because it was like there was all this, dopamine going around and just like give me something fast, like keep me going. And it turns out that you guys have done it in such a great way. So kudos for trying to be different and pulling something off in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of inspiration from what Maddie did. When I launched in November, there was only like maybe a handful of membership style projects. Now we have like hundreds of them, dozens of them, like alpha groups and memberships. But there was really just MetaKey, there was Metaverse HQ, there was VFriends, and maybe one or two more. So yeah, I mean, I was a big fan and part of MetaKey really early on, and really love that approach. So yeah, a lot of respect to him.
No, I love that. No, that's cool. So funny thing, when I saw your 30 days of NFTs on LinkedIn, now I know for sure you didn't see what I was doing, but there's a coincidence that I actually did 100 days of NFTs, a video per day. Well, actually it wasn't per day. It took me about 10 months to get through 100 because I was doing a few other things at the same time. But I did 100 videos over about 9 or 10 months, starting from early January, to sort of cover my opinions on
Hmm.
lots of different things. But just coincidentally, it was a very
That's really
similar
cool.
name. Tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about. I mean, you go into a lot more depth than what I did, and you've got a lot of value in what you're creating. But tell us a little bit about the 30 days of NFTs and how that sort of links to what you're doing.
Yeah, so this is probably the thing that we've done over the last year that I'm most proud of and happy that we did, because it just kind of works so perfectly. It's probably about 4 months now. I'm just looking at my calendar. Emily, she heads up marketing and community for us, she had this idea and she said, wouldn't it be great if we just did this email course for, learning, teaching people about NFTs, where they could learn directly in their inbox rather than having to go on Twitter or go on YouTube or find something, we can go to them. And she was like, she had the idea. She said 30 days of NFTs every day. We would send them just a small bit of information to be digestible. And from there, it took maybe 2 to 3 months, and there were like 4 or 5 of us that worked on it, between writing the content, editing the content, creating the website, getting the email stuff ready. And yeah, we just put together this 30-day course that was like every single day is like a 3 to 5 minute read on like a different topic. So like day one is what is an NFT, day two is what is a blockchain, and then I don't know, day five is what is a wallet, and then how to set up a wallet, and what is Discord, and all the basic stuff. And yeah, we just do it via email. You just go to 30daysofnfts.com, enter your email address, and then immediately you start getting emails, and it's free, and it just works so well. And we've had really good positive feedback and reception to it. So uh, I think that's something that we've got. I think we launched about a month ago, and we have about 3,500 people subscribed, which is, yeah, just blowing us away. Like, I remember, so we launched it. We were in Vegas for a Web3 Expo. There was a conference a month ago, and like we soft launched it there, where we told people in person about it, and we had like 30 people signed up over the course of a week, just word of mouth. And then we were like, all right, time to sort of tweet it out and share it publicly. And Emily and I were like, all right, our goal is 100 subscribers. Let's get to 100. And then it was just like we very quickly got to like 500 that night, and then within a week we were at like 1,500. It's like
Wow.
blew us away.
That's so cool, man. I mean, it just goes to show how, thirsty people are for information, especially when it's a reliable
Mm,
source as well. You know, Clearly we've all seen I mean, especially now, the misinformation that's flying around, and just, I guess, the pros and cons of what's going on from a decentralization perspective, but also, the misinformation that's going around can be really harmful. So, people are looking to trusted sources for information. And I always say, or I have been saying, whether it's, during the last bear market prior to NFTs taking off, or this bear market from an NFT perspective, not everyone goes away. The
mm,
curiosity stays. And like we even saw, throughout, like I said before, the NFT piece take off, Web3, like crypto conferences were still getting a lot of people there because of the blockchain component, right? The technology was still keeping people curious. And now, with the cultural aspect and the relevance of NFTs and how it's making the penny drop for more people because of the ease of understanding, and that cultural aspect of things that people already love, and how it's making it easier for them from a frictionless perspective to transact or engage with whatever it is that they're interested in. I think that, this next period, we're going to see more and more of that. We're still going ahead with our events. Obviously you need to be cautious because you don't want to get out of business. But at the same time, there is still, especially from a corporate perspective, a whole bunch of interest. And from a consumer perspective, we're starting to see it more, but we find that you need to be a little bit smarter about how you're positioning it. It's not about, the technology is this, and this. It's more about market to, the particular segments, whether it be art, music, sport, gaming, etc., and explain to them in your messaging how they can come and experience how it's going to be better for them in that particular stream
mm-hmm.
that they're passionate about, and remove the whole, conversation of the technology that
Yeah.
either scares them because people fear what they don't know, or goes over their head and they feel like they're not welcome there because they just frankly don't understand it. So I really love that approach, and obviously there's a huge space and lots of great players particularly in Australia, that are going down that education and information ramp. And I think, we're all together really playing a huge part in the onboarding and removing that, mystique
Yeah,
of
100%.
whatever it is from a technology perspective.
It's so complicated. So 100% agree.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes I still get tripped up on stuff, and
Me too. Yeah,
we've all
we all do.
been in it for quite a while now. So we certainly need to have empathy for sure. So, and mate, I need to touch on the. I've heard you speak about it, but certainly I speak about it a lot, and it is spoken about quite a lot in terms of. I feel like a lot of that I'm going to call romantic view from a lot of the early Web3 adopters around everything's so different. You need to forget everything you know. It's a brand new world. Some of that has, weight, but certainly, I love hearing that you're building an email list. I love when people are talking about parallel skills that apply and come across. I was even on a space a couple of days ago. There's an Aussie breakfast show on Tuesday mornings on Twitter, and they were talking about how to market in this space. And the topic came up around it hasn't actually changed that much. It's just exposed the people that are trying, now that the bull runs over, especially the people that are trying to just sell
Mm.
as opposed to market and build community. Like Gary Vee's an enormous inspiration of mine, and his approach is now what he's been doing for so long is now what you need to do in Web3 to have the credibility and essentially the way you're playing it, right? Content marketing, building trust, building brand, and earning that attention and trust through providing proof points and all the rest of it. So I love to see that. But do you have any sort of thoughts around how you're going to continue to adopt those methods and continue to scale?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Gary as well, huge inspiration. And I think his just general approach of creating lots of content, high quality content across a variety of mediums is kind of what we're trying to do, where that's why email is working so well. It's, for the most part, for a lot of people and projects, especially last year and early this year, is like Twitter and Discord were like the two places that you exist. And that's good and well, and it was great during a bull run when there were like thousands of people every day coming to Twitter and Discord trying to find. But now we're at a point where very few people are searching and trying to find about NFTs, and it's in order to sort of onboard people and sort of build a community that is really global and everywhere and for everyone, we have to go to sort of where everyone else is, and that's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, even Facebook,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Absolutely, LinkedIn is huge. In person, in real life events are huge. So yeah, we're really just, and not just like the other thing that we're paying a lot of attention to is sort of going global and reaching out to communities in Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Brazil, Africa, India, not just the traditional sort of Western spaces like America, Europe, and Australia, and New Zealand, and Canada. It's there's like a thriving NFT community in most countries around the world, and if we can build those bridges, then we can really make the world smaller and bring people together.
No, absolutely. I love that. I think, that omni-channel approach, like I said, it's we're building businesses, right? People are starting to get it. I think that the best operators have known that from the start. But this whole project terminology, yes, we know what people are referring to when they say that, but it is a business. We need to have proper, scalable marketing strategies and plans that can be nimble, and we need to get the right people's attention and be exactly meet them where they are and talk to them in the way that they expect to be spoken to in terms of what they're interested in and how they want to hear things, for sure. No, that's cool. So obviously you're traveling, you're setting up shop in Dubai, you were mentioning as well. Aside from that, what are you planning on for 2023 and beyond?
Yeah, it's kind of wild that we're already there. This year's gone so fast.
I know.
So setting up shop in Dubai, and we've already set up shop in Dubai. We've incorporated there, and but I'll be moving there. My partner will be living there starting January, and probably for 6 to 12 months, plan to be there and continue to set up the corporate structure and make sure things are running smoothly. Uh, Bring other people there to work or find other people there, all sorts of stuff. But then come back to Australia late next year, or most likely late next year, which I'm really looking forward to. On the Zen Academy and the business side, it's really just continuing to do what we're already doing, like create content. We're more than anything, we're a content company. We That's why we started. It came from my newsletter, and then now we have weekly news, daily news. We have various types of news. We have podcasts and YouTube, and just reaching different people and talking about. There's so much to talk about when it comes to NFTs, and uh, just continue to build a community. That's like the biggest part to me. It's like create content and build a community that appreciates the content, enjoys it, can share it and discuss what's different parts of it, and really just community building and content is 2023 for us.
I love that. I saw that, again, in terms of going with your own approach and not, sort of doing the copy paste approach. And, I've seen this, you sort of talk about this PFP release that
Hmm.
you're planning. Is that booked in?
Yep. So Q1 next
Are there
year,
dates?
we are doing a PFP. We're actually so we've got these Genesis tokens. They're ERC 1155 NFTs, which basically mean they're
Yep.
all the same. They're like a letter, membership card type thing. So nothing like art related to them at the moment. But when I launched a year ago, I didn't want to do a PFP because there's too many PFP projects. And so then why now? Because
Correct.
there's 8 billion more now. There's so many more. Basically, because the existing community wants a PFP, and a lot of people have said that they would love to have a Zen Academy PFP to represent themselves on social media and to sort of identify others. And so it's with that in mind that we are launching one. Uh, the process is basically people will be able to burn their current token, get a chest, and then open the chest. Chest is kind of like a CloneX vial or a Ranga black box. It's that model that's been done before, but I think is fun and kind of works. And so all the Utes tubes, and yeah. So the burn process to get the chest will happen later this month in November, the next couple of weeks, and then the opening of them will be Q1 next year, and I'm really excited and looking forward to that as well.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. I love the way you've gone about that as well. And you've spoken obviously about understanding the importance of the supply and
Mm,
demand ratio, and not increasing and devaluing existing tokens, and really putting community first. So really appreciate that approach for sure. We've and I guess I might be putting words in your mouth, but I guess the other benefit of the way that you've gone is you've had more time now to see a lot of the
mm,
mistakes that projects with PFPs or just projects in general have gone, because you didn't go with, and some of them have done very well by going up front, building brands, even great Aussies, Deadfellas, obviously killed it in that regard, and Psychedelics Anonymous and a few others. But you've had the luxury, I guess, of not that you've sat back and done nothing, but you've gone with the approach of slow and steady.
mm-hmm.
Let's sort of run our own race and go with it. So what sort of advice, for again, to sort of go back to how we started the show, what could you say to someone, whether they're a professional poker player or an entrepreneur from another industry, or anywhere in between with relevant skills, even a copywriter, you know what would you say to them from an advice standpoint in how to sort of approach the space, given the timing that we're in and all the rest of it? People would obviously be pretty apprehensive. So, do you have any advice that you could sort of share that might be valuable?
Yeah, so we're in obviously a really terrible bear market, and we've been in one for a while. There's no real end in sight. Who knows? It could be another month, 3, 6, could be 2 years, it could be however long. And so it's difficult to sort of suggest people, come in and launch their own brand new project, because it is really difficult to stand out now and build a community and get enough interest. That said, I'm a big fan of just jumping in and just getting your hands dirty and just trying something. So if you are a copywriter, if you want to create content, just start writing some Twitter threads, start a newsletter. And if you've not done it before, if you're new, it's probably going to be pretty average in quality to begin with. But that's fine. You learn as you go along, and iterate, and you'll get feedback from the community. And even if you have one person reading your content, and then you have another person, and then eventually you just work off of that and build it up and iterate on top. Like, there's this quote from Winston Churchill, I think, perfection is the enemy of progress. And I think that it's really applicable to this space. So whatever you want to do, just there's no substitute for just just trying and getting experience. And it's, as long as you're not sort of, asking people for like a bunch of money, or like, trying to, it's very forgiving, the space, because, we live in these 10-second hype cycles today with the TikTok generation, where if you create something and it doesn't quite land, no one's going to remember it, an hour later. So just keep trying lots of things. And when you find what works and what interests you and what resonates with others, then you can really lean into that.
Totally. Yeah, no, 100%. And, it all comes back to start off with providing value. And, our mate Gary V, Joe Broadhook, right? Just provide as much value as you can, build that trust within whichever community you start to foster on whatever platforms. Hopefully you're across multi-platform to give yourself a better chance. But mate, it's a really, really valuable insight. I appreciate your time so much. The team at NFT Fest said it really, really well, how generous you have been with your time. And it's amazing in this space, it's not always the rule, but, the successful people and the busy people are often way more generous with their time than people that probably value their time more than they probably should. So honestly, mate, I really want to reiterate, really appreciate your time. Good luck with your session at NFT Fest. Probably be a couple of days after this airs, because we'll get this ready for next week. And I really will continue to be cheering for you from afar. Hopefully we can touch base a couple of times, over the next few months. And when you're back in Oz, mate, I'd love to catch up for a beer and have a chat.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a real pleasure. And yeah.
Absolutely. Anytime, mate. Cheers. Thank you so much. I really hope you've been enjoying Off the Chain so far. No matter how you're consuming this content, please leave your feedback either through the content platform itself, or find me on Twitter at offthechainweb3. Cheers for your support. Thanks a lot.